And now let's go to the subject analysis. Record has siya authority control, the standardized author name, the structure, the ISBD, the subject headings, the classification, either LC or the Dewey, the format, MARC or Dublin Core, encoding by MARC or the XML, the model Ferber or the traditional model, and the code ASCR2 or the RDA. And this record is displayed in an OPAC or the online public access catalog or the online database, and etc. Goals of subject analysis. Collocation of similar items. What is collocation? Collocation means bringing together the related items. Like for example, tanan nga New York State history nga subject nag-uban siya sa catalog. And of course, pag mag-shelving na ka, mag-uban na gyapon na sila tanan. Goals of subject analysis. Collocation, the shelf, the classification, and the catalog based on the subject headings. So enable high precision and recall. Precision, most of the results are relevant, and recall, most of the relevant items are retrieved. And find all items in a library in a given topic. Subject analysis strategies, classification. There are many classification schemes widely used in the library. The most common is the duodecimal classification and the Library of Congress classification. Next is the subject headings and the thesauri, the controlled vocabularies, is the multiple topics per item. The most used tool in locating the subjects, the Library of Congress subject headings and the source list for the thesaurus. Thesaurus used for any controlled vocabulary arranged in order. It includes the additional explanatory information about the concept, including the definition and bibliographic citation and etc. and so on. For example, classification, Monty Shackle, number 1 topic per item. And kuha ni siya through ani nga mga subject headings. So, ang subject headings, it has the multiple topics per item sa isa ka book. So, this book, Their Sister, The Civil War Letters of the Brothers Gould, compiled by Robert F. Harris and John Neflot. And ano siya? Next is the controlled vocabularies guiding principles, basis for including terms in a vocabulary. The literary warrant, meaning literary warrant, the natural language used to describe the content objects. Assessing the literary warrant involves consulting reference sources such as dictionaries or textbooks as well as existing vocabularies. The word or the phrase chosen should as closely as possible the prevailing description for the concept in the literature. However, next, the user warrant, the inclusion of vocabulary term based and used by users, the principle of common usage. Terms useful for your users and the structural warrant, the supply the missing links in a hierarchy. Another, this one, literary warrant, user needs, the uniform headings, unique headings, one heading per subject. Example, bank as financial institution or the bank or river. And specific and direct entry use the most specific term, as I've mentioned earlier. Stability, weigh the change against the impact. The user's catalogers and the cost. Consistency, the form, and the structure. Next, controlled vocabularies, the faceted application of subject terminology. FAST is derived from the Library of Congress subject headings, one of the library domains most widely used terminology schemes. It has been developed to meet the need for a general use subject terminology scheme
which is simple to learn and apply, faceted navigation friendly, and modern in its design. FAST is a nine-facet vocabulary with a universe of approximately 1.8 million headings across all facets. Next, controlled vocabularies, they pre-coordinate. Keywords are combined, the LCH and the source list. Examples sa LCH, the plant, nutrition, genetic aspects. Source list, salt in animal nutrition. So what is pre-coordinate? It is combining the elements into one heading string in an anticipation of a search on that compound topic. While the post-coordinate is the keywords, the concepts are not combined. Most and thesaurus. Example, the plants, the nutrition, the genetics, the salt. Term mapping in controlled vocabularies, BT means broader term, NT means narrower term, RT means related term, and UF used for, it is list non-preferred headings. So non-preferred heading siya. Use gives a preferred heading. And SA or the C also, it's a list of potentially related or similar headings. Challenges in subject analysis, complex subjects, comparing methods in sociological research in Panama, Peru, and Spain. The differences, differences in cultural background, the consistency, the non-textual items, the exhaustivity, the what level precision versus recall, and the objectivity. Uh, Avoid the individual judgment, instead of consider the intent of the author. So if possible, assign the headings without being judgmental. And the different method of subject analysis, the language, what is it? Category of knowledge, what is it for? And what is it about? So Derek Langridge is another Elias scholar, take a different view of conceptual analysis process. He thinks you need to ask the right question, and those questions are what you see on the slide. So what is it about? What is it about? That addresses the topical aspects of the work. What is it? The way in which the phenomena are treated, form of knowledge like science, history, and philosophy. So he's looking, what is it? He's looking at the form of knowledge. And he also says, yeah, you should be asking. And what is it for? This question is about the audience, which is often implied but rarely stated explicitly. A book about X is for those interested in X. So that addresses the topical aspect of the work, but also he wants you to look at. So what is it about? Or what is it about? Or what is it? This question is about the topical aspects of the work. I mean, what is it for? This is a question that addresses the discipline of our work, the uses of a document, and the maybe to whom it is addressed. It answer what is it for may particularly affect the choice of the classification. A book about anatomy for nurses is not the same thing as the book about anatomy for veterinarians. So language thinks aboutness only gets confusing when we mix up these three questions. So this is what leads to variation in our impressions aboutness. Next is the Wilson's method. Wilson's methods, the purposive method, the figure ground method, the objective method, and the cohesion method. The purposive method, this is the idea that you will look at what the creator's aim or purpose is to help determine what the resource is about. So the problem with the purposive method is that it's not always clear. An author may say once what their aim or purpose was. Sometimes, the multiple times is less helpful because the aim or the purpose might contradict or conflict with other statements. So it might be said not at all. So in some straightforward at times to use the purposive in some ways, we might be guessing as the author's aim or purpose. With nonfiction materials, it can be fairly straightforward at times to use the purposive method. But when one starts analyzing literature, the arts, the humanities, it becomes a little more complex. It becomes a little less clear as to what someone's purpose might have been in creating that work. Another method is he offers the figure ground method. This is the idea that when looking at a resource or something is going to stand out, it might be an idea, it might be a historical figure or a character, it might be a particular concept or the philosophy. Another is the objective method, and this was the idea that we could count the number of reference to ideas or subjects that appear in a resource. So if we look for topics or subjects that are mentioned most throughout, perhaps that is what the work is about. This may be helpful in the determination of aboutness, but there are also some issues with this approach as well. And last method is the cohesion method. And this is the idea that maybe we can determine the aboutness by looking at what holds the work together. What is the central idea? What is the central theme? What is the cohesiveness there? What has been said? What has been said? What has not been said? In the process of conceptual analysis, first examine the item, the bibliographic feature, and the visual elements. Next is examine the content, the topics mentioned, the names as subjects, the chronological elements, and the content characteristics, the language, the tone, the intellectual level or audience, the point of view, the research methods, the form, and the genre. And I think you've now got a good understanding about the subject cataloging. Thank you for listening and have a good day.